Ladies and gentlemen, gentlemen and ladies, ladies and gents, this is Dr. Berg. And guess what? Dr. Berg is talking about something, so let's have him talk.
You're very dispersed, thinking all the time, excessively kind of thinking about this, and you switch gears over here. I guess it's multitasking. It's hard to focus, basically. Your attention goes all over the place. Sometimes when you go into a room, you'll spot things that are out of order because the adrenal glands are all about survival. So anything that is against survival, like insanities, you can't tolerate insanities too well, or things out of order, or things that are incompetent people, slow people, stupid people, like they might really rub you the wrong way too much. You also have a hard time getting up in the morning. You don't feel bright. You don't jump out of bed and go, yeah, you need coffee. You can't get out of bed sometimes. Also, you're tired during the day, okay? Since the adrenal gland is the survival gland, what you're doing mentally is you're trying to survive. You never feel like you're surviving, though. You never feel like you're really doing well. You're trying, but you're never getting there. You're unsatisfied with your survival. So basically, I'm myself, but a lot of other people. And I have a lot of reality because I had pretty much every single symptom that every single person has told me. In fact, all the videos that you're watching on YouTube, those videos are probably all about me because and what I did to handle my own body. All right, so that's my story. So we want to talk about the adrenal body type because this relates to not just myself, but a lot of other people. But you can see it starts off, you start off looking okay, and then you notice you start gaining weight in the midsection, bigger, bigger, and bigger. So the adrenal is more midsection weight, skinnier legs, okay? The adrenal gland sits on top of your kidney. You got two of them, and they're the gland that adapts your body to stress. So in other words, it changes the physiology of your body to handle and cope with stress. So if you can imagine a tiger chasing you, what would happen to your blood pressure, your blood sugar, your muscles? Every adaptation that occurs is like the adrenal adapting your body to that stress state. Our bodies were not designed to live in a sustained stress environment for that long, especially mental stress. And what happens over time, it burns the adrenal glands out. So you get chronic fatigue syndrome. So basically, I'll get into the symptoms, but that's really what the adrenal gland does, and I think it's important to know the function.
The reason why I'm letting him explain that to you, because these
by the way, the adrenal gland, if you get a blood
symptoms associated with muscular dystrophy, chronic fatigue syndrome. What are the other ones? There are so many other syndromes. Now, again, he refers to it as a syndrome. And I give him his credit. This is a young man who was a doctor. Hey, doc, how long were you a doctor? Doc, I'm talking to you. How long were you a doctor? I'm waiting for it. Hold on.
You can check me out on YouTube. I have a lot of information. So that's who I am.
Wait, hold on.
27 years. Who you were. I delivered over 4,900 seminars. 4,900 seminars. Also, in my YouTube videos, I have over 2,000 now.
2,000
and
YouTube
close to
videos, man.
almost 52 million views. So you can check me out on YouTube. Okay. I have a lot.
He's got 51 million views, and even this video has 548,000 views. He's a doctor. He's not one of those quacks who just do YouTube videos and be trying to subscribe. Not one time has his video said anything about subscribe. Okay, and you know what? He's got 11,000 likes and 373 dislikes. For the life of me, I don't know why anybody would dislike this video. He's not putting anybody down. He's giving people facts, and I agree with him. Although some of the symptoms he is speaking are symptoms for other diseases as well. But I also agree with him that he's associating something with the way we eat. Okay? He talked about his life. I'm going to let him tell you. Come on, Doc. Talk to the people because they need to hear you. A lot of
information. So that's who I am. Really quickly, my story. Okay, so I just want to quickly tell you my story. in the thumbnail sketch, I was very, very, very unaware of health growing up. I could never just eat a little bit of sugar. I would eat a lot of sugar. I don't think I've ever ate anything green until I was 28 years old.
My friends used to tell me when I was younger, man, why don't you eat any vegetables? I said, I do eat my vegetables. I say eat my vegetables every time I eat a hamburger. I get my pickles, I get my tomatoes, and I get my lettuce. Okay? That was my eating vegetables when I was younger. I'm not joking, I'm telling the truth.
Except pistachio ice cream and lime green jello, I never ate a vegetable. I always justified it. I told people I would eat healthy when I graduate and when I have my own place. Of course, that never worked. But anyway, I lived in Wisconsin growing up, and we pretty much ate a lot of junk food, all American diet. And my grandmother was an amazing cook. She would bake pies and cakes and things, and I would eat them, the whole thing. So in high school, I wrestled. I usually did very good in the beginning of the year. I was usually undefeated. Towards the end of the year, I would burn out because of the energy I lost, because I was eating sugar. I would starve my body, cut weight, weigh a certain amount, and then pig out right after that. And that was really bad. So anyway, I did go to state. I did wrestle in college. Ended up very, very brittle bones. I started fracturing my bones. So I had a lot of nutritional deficiencies that I was unaware of back then, because it didn't show up externally, it showed up internally with fatigue, with just fragile bones. That was actually vitamin D, vitamin K2, and probably vitamin C.
Now, see, that's why I got to stop him, because we've already had it proved that vitamin D doesn't actually help with bone density. But that's okay. That's not his fault. Okay, that's not his fault. He's a doctor. He ain't supposed to know everything. Want to let you guys know that it is our food that we're eating. It's not so much the food that you're eating, it's so much the chemicals in the food. But I have been on this tear as of late. Since I stopped drinking tap water, pay attention, I do not drink tap water. Why don't you drink tap water? Because there's too many chemicals in it. I can taste the chemicals. As a matter of fact, all I drink is filtered water, not purified. I don't touch purified water. That's a bunch of chemicals. I drink filtered water or spring water. Okay, the place I was at 3 months ago, all of the water was spring water. From the faucet, spring water. In the shower, spring water. Every single ounce was spring water. Could not have asked for anything better, because I haven't had the fatigue. I'm not tired during the day. I don't have to go lay down during the day anymore. That's the first thing that I changed. The second thing I changed, I don't eat meat anymore. You don't eat meat anymore? What about your protein? I get plenty of protein. I just get my protein from other products, such as Vegetables. Yes, I do Vegetables, but I do them stir fry. Now, since I've done that, no more fatigue, no more chronic fatigue, no more chronic fatigue. Enjoyed that part. That's an important part. He talked about not being able to tolerate certain things and certain people and all of that. I just want him to explain something else, and I'm going to go on and explain to you guys why I'm doing this video.
Anyway, had a lot of dental work. Probably every single tooth was filled with amalgam. I had those out. Never really helped me because my nutrition just didn't change. I was in the military, in the reserves. I was in the Army Reserves. I went into basic training, top of my group, and then when I got through basic training, I could barely do a push-up because of my nutrition, because of my health. It was very, very weak. My recovery was very, very low. I barely passed the PT test. Okay, you couldn't tell on the outside, but the inside was really bad. So when I was 28, that's when I hit my lowest point of my health. I had chronic fatigue syndrome. I had severe constipation. I had insomnia. There was nights I didn't even sleep 1 minute the whole night. That was like
Remind you of anybody?
torture, because I would lay there and I couldn't fall asleep. I had arthritis in my hands and my back. I had bloodshot eyes. I was searching everywhere. We would drive down the street with my wife, and I'd say, maybe they can help me. Maybe they can help me.
Okay, that's why I'm showing you this video. The symptoms that he just described are the same symptoms associated with muscular dystrophy and chronic fatigue syndrome and myasthenia gravis and fibromyalgia. Everything he just said are associated with that. Now, I told people about how the longest I've gone without sleep was, pay attention, 7.5 days. That's the longest period of time I've gone without sleep. Now, he goes on to explain the causes of this. You guys heard it when I first started the video. Most of it is stress related. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm trying to organize two different organizations, trying to keep everything under control. I'm not trying to micromanage anything. I'm not trying to be in control of anything. As a matter of fact, I had to let everybody know that I was no longer going to be overseeing 4 different departments at the organization that I started, and that I was going to focus more on sitcom and just a couple of the aspects of the departments for the organization that I started. And that, as I told people on video, my days were going to start at 8:30 in the morning and end at 6:30 in the evening. That's a 9-hour day. No, it's a 10-hour day. No, yes, it is. Okay, 10-hour day because I take a break. So it's a 9-hour day. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, that's the day. I spoke to somebody at 6:42 tonight. Spoke to them for about 11 minutes. But that's because they've been calling me all day and I had asked them to give me a call today. So I owed them that. The person wanted to talk to me about a court case. I was helping the person with a court case, but then in the middle of the conversation, after asking some questions, because that's what I do with people, I give them the third degree, the person told me, well, no, this case involves blah, blah, blah. I say, excuse me? This case involves blah, blah, blah. I said, I didn't agree to help you on that case. I said, just because, wait, hold on a minute. I said, no, I don't want you to take this the wrong way. But just because you get a legal notice in the mail doesn't give you the right to call me to think that I am the person you call for all of your legal problems. Ladies and gentlemen, this is what people do. They throw all of their legal burdens upon me, all of them. I get to be the one who gets to respond to the judges and get to respond to the attorneys, and I'm just having to tell them no. That's not my responsibility. And no, you're not going to use my conscience against me because my health comes first now. I have to put that first because if my health gets so bad that I can't help anybody, then that means that I won't be able to fulfill my obligations to the people whom I gave my word to with the organizations that I'm helping with. You see, any moment now we'll be receiving a letter from the court regarding whatever decision that man made in the sitcom, Defrauded Homeowners of America lawsuit. And it's okay. I got it. I don't mind them coming to some kind of conclusion or decision because we're appealing whatever that judge says. Because remember, initially he said we didn't serve the attorney general. The attorney general was served. So initially that's what he said. So fine. So then after he said we didn't serve the attorney general, he said I couldn't represent the class. Well, this was a QTAM lawsuit. He recognized that in his own writings. So that was killed. So the appeal will be won because those were the only issues for denying the case. Now, if they want to send it back and have them deny it for whatever other reason, that's fine too. But this was not going to be, we told you guys, this was not going to be simple. But we need to put them in a corner. We need to put them in a position where they can't. If they want me to amend it, Lord have mercy, I will amend that 150 plus page lawsuit. I have no problem because I have more information to add. You guys, I will do a video probably tomorrow showing you the new document I created where I'm using the actual wording of Congress. Ah, get out of here. Where you at? There you go. Go. Bye-bye. I'm using the actual wording of Congress as my witnesses. You know how you're allowed to produce witnesses? Well, I'm telling the court, forget me bringing in some flesh and blood person. Forget me introducing some sort of evidence, some paperwork. No, no. I'm going to introduce the words of Congress. I'm going to introduce their own intent. I'm introducing the statute. I'm using Congress as my witness, and I'm using the Federal Registry by reference as my witness when it comes to those acts and those statutes. And because Congress has said that those acts are still in play, are they still in play? Are you sure they're still in play? Well, according to Congress, they still is in play What you mean, according to Congress? Well, did you know that in 1973 and 1976, they said them laws, see, 1973, since we still in a declared emergency, national emergency, is that the only thing you got to tell them? Well, no, ladies and gentlemen, I can't open it because I just closed it. But if you go back, you all need to pay attention as far as the emergency is concerned, because here is the Gold Repeal Act where it made the hoarding of gold illegal. I need you to pay attention to what was said at the very beginning. Everybody want to call this HJR 192, but this is not HJR 192, y'all. This ain't HJR. It's be it resolved by the Senate and the House of Representatives. Do you know why they resolved this? Well, the beginning of this ain't here. It ain't in this document. We gonna show y'all why they resolved it. Because at the very beginning, these individuals, and remember, this is an agricultural act. This is an agricultural law. Most people didn't pay attention to that. It said based on the current emergency. Now pay attention. The reason why this is important, because we told y'all about obligation. Every obligation, everyone, including government obligations. This is what they were referring to, ladies and gentlemen. They were referring to government obligations. And when I told you it's called the Act of June 5th and 6th, 1933, it's the Act of June 5th and 6th, 1933. Didn't make this up. So this is called, they want to call it the Gold Obligation Law, but this is called the Gold Repeal Act. This is not the act that repealed gold. This is the act that specifically spoke as to the repealing of gold. But the repeal of any such provision shall not be invalidate any other provision or authority contained in such law. Okay, so that you'll understand, current emergency, that's the issue. They're in an emergency. And because they're in an emergency, see, I got this thing right here, this bankruptcy disclaimer thing. That's where Mr. Washington talks about it. Michigan, is it Michigan, Washington? Moses, Washington. Moses! How dare you bring these idlers before me? Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, this document, I only use the portions of the actual Senate. I don't use the portion that's black where they're speaking. I only use the portion where the Senate is talking. Remember, the banking holiday of 1933 is still going on. As long as there's a banking holiday, you can't spend any money. Now, I've worked on an appeal for two different people. I made the appeal universal so that it applies to everybody. Everybody can use it in every case. State case, all they got to do is change a couple of words. It's got all the case law and everything in it. Eventually, I'll put it up on the website. However, I got to figure out a way of getting it out to the masses. But for right now, I'm going to do a video showing everything, and you're just going to have to follow through and pulling up the same case law, because the only reason why I would have to put it out there for you is for the table of authorities, because that stuff is throughout the internet. But you can do it because all I did was said a phrase in the internet and pulled up the actual information. You can pull up the exact same information without having to do exactly what I did. The argument is we use their words against them. What do I mean by we use their words against them? Well, in the document I put that it is the intent of the Congress that the courts must go by. See, this is what I tell you when I do videos, how I do talk about a lot of things, and most people who don't take the time to listen to the video are going to miss out. Even though I'm going to be talking about this, I probably won't be going into all of this when I do the next video. Pay attention. This is Mr. McFadden. The first section of the bill, as I grasp it, is particularly the war powers that were given back in 1917. I would like to ask the chairman of the committee if this is a plan to change the holding of securities back to the Federal Reserve notes, to the Treasury of the United States rather than the Federal Reserve agent, meaning the banks. Mr. Stegall said this provision is for the issuance of Federal Reserve bank notes, not Federal Reserve notes, you ignorant not Federal Reserve notes. And the security back of the obligations, notes, drafts, bills, exchange, bankers' acceptances outlined in the section to which the gentleman has referred. He's talking about Mr. McFadden. There's Mr. Stegall. Y'all know the Glass-Steagall Act? That's that Stegall individual. Mr. McFadden says than the new circulation of Federal Reserve banknotes and not Federal Reserve notes. Is that true? He says, insofar as the provisions of this action is concerned, yes. See, he says, insofar as the provision of this act, the Gold Repeal Act, gave another provision that spoke as to Federal Reserve notes. Okay, however, in the document I put 12 USC 411, which says that we can't use those notes. They're not designed for any other purpose other than to be used as advances between the Federal Reserve and their member banks. You see, I'm using Congress's intent because this talks about what they were intending. That's why I'm using this, because the courts must go by congressional intent. Do you understand now? I don't need to. Oh, and I bring in the point. Oh, and by the way, if you want to associate this with these so-called groups that have been bringing up information, please do not do that, because I am using Congress's actual word. So if you claim that this information, and remember how judges will say that you failed to state a claim by which relief may be granted, or that it was frivolous, then fine. They're talking about the whole act is frivolous. By the way, I'm challenging the act. Everybody who uses the information I give will be challenging the act as unconstitutional. What do you mean they're going to be challenging the act as unconstitutional? Well, this is what you need to pay attention to. When the Congress, you know, those people who claim they know what they're doing, they speaking on your behalf. Okay, when those idiots got to go down now, because I done went up, so we're gonna take, got to get on down, ease on down the road. Do, do, do. That's the Wiz, okay? Not the Wizard of Oz. That's the Wiz. Michael Jackson, Stephanie Mills. You know what I'm saying? That's the Wiz. Okay, let's finish. Don't you carry nothing that might stop it. Could you finish? Because this video ain't supposed to be about all this. Talking about easing on down somebody's road. Why don't you just see that doctor was right? Anyway, this is 1973. Since March 1933, the United States has been in a state of declared national emergency. And because of that, they gave way to all of these other acts. You got that, right? However, it said the proclamation gave forth the 470 provisions. These hundreds of statutes delegate to the president. Now you got to go and you bring in the delegation of powers, because they delegated to the president powers. Congressional powers can't do that. Separation of powers clause prevents that from happening. However, you know that the Constitution, and I'll explain this in the video, the Constitution actually does not explicitly prohibit or even suggest that there's a separation of powers. There is no such phrase, separation of powers, in the actual Constitution. But what you don't know is the actual history of Congress is that McAdams, or Adams, whoever that idiot's name was, the one who later became president, Adams actually brought up that there should be a provision separating the powers, but he was voted down because the other congressional members, hold on, pay attention, the other congressional members said that there was no need for such a redundant provision because it was already expressed in the original writing. Look, they gave us their intent that there be separation of powers. So I introduced that. That's what I'm talking about, ladies and gentlemen. That's why I liked Hayden Covington, because he was a man after my own heart. He thought along the same lines. Never before have I decided to use their own words, even though I told you, use your enemy's strengths against them. Well, the courts have a rule. They must go by congressional intent. I told you all of this when we talked about the statutory interpretation, the general principles of statutory, or fundamental principles of statutory interpretation. They cannot go outside the scope of the statute. The Supreme Court said as much in Reynolds versus the U.S. January 23rd, 2012, in that decision. They said that they must go according to the plain meaning of the text. That was 2012, they came to that conclusion. When they came to that conclusion, pay attention, that applied to every case in the nation. We've already had that discussion. So that's what that's going to be about. But getting back to this health thing and getting back to me, I got people trying to make me feel guilty because I don't have time to help them personally. Ladies and gentlemen, the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the one, and I'm going to say I'm going to be nice. I am not going to be concerned about those single individuals because what I'm doing is going to help the group, not the single individual. I already told you about the guy who said he wanted all of his paperwork back because it's been since November 18th and he ain't received his paperwork back only because it was out of our hands. We sent it out and we had to wait for them to send it back. The people who initially signed up for our program, when we were sending it to Ramsey County, they held on to it for 3 months. 3 months. But they eventually sent it back. He decided to tell us that we had to do an authentication and we had to acknowledge the deed, the birth certificate as a deed. He doesn't realize that the birth certificate as a deed thing comes from me. When I told people that the birth certificate has a APN number, that it is evidence of land, evidence, proof of ownership of land, property. He doesn't realize that information came from me. So he's trying to educate me on what I need to be doing. So he asked us to send him back his stuff. I'm glad he asked me to send him back his stuff before I found out that his stuff was received on Friday. Thank you. Thank you for relieving me of sitting up there trying to help somebody who don't want help. That's what I'm dealing with, people. So I got people calling me up, and there's one guy that I'm upset with, and I want him to know how upset I am with him. He texted me and told me he had some really great information, some secrets that I don't even know, that I needed to know to help people about this and that and the other. I ignored it, ladies and gentlemen. I was working on those appeal briefs. I didn't have time. Plus, I have that stupid abscess going on. Yeah, we can do the update. Hold on. Let me tap my screen and get that update thing going. There you go. All right. So what did I do? Oh, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, this is Advanced System Care Ultimate 11. What they have now, and I want you all to understand this. This is important to me to tell you all this. All of these I can get. I'm not worried about all of these. The Uninstall Pro, I can get that too. I'm not worried about those items right there. That's why I don't have them. But let me explain something to y'all. This program works so well. I'll get back into that in a minute. This program works so well. Okay, it now has antivirus capabilities. Before it didn't have antivirus capabilities. So I'll give it credit because see with my system now that I have a VPN, it was blocking my VPN, and I had AVG. It was blocking me from getting the internet, and I got tired of trying to reprogram that thing because that was a headache. So I got rid of AVG, and I'm going to use this, and I'm going to use another virus scanner, and I'm just going to say move on, ease on, get on down that road, y'all. Now getting back to all of this so all of you get it. Everybody's pulling, everybody's yanking, everybody wants. Ain't nobody paying me. But all of these people want me to give them my undivided attention. We're offering people a 98 series number plus a CPN, plus we are guaranteeing them that when we get the ability to do it, we'll be adding lines of credit to their CPN and more than likely to their other number associated. Okay? Nobody does that. At no extra charge. Nobody does that. And that's not even the other stuff that we're doing. The paperwork that we're filing to get their status corrected, that stuff is in addition, that we're not charging extra, but this is the stuff these people are complaining about. All of that stuff we were giving them in addition. We have staff that are working on it. But as we told people, we sent everybody an updated video saying we cannot call and get this information every single day of the week from the same phone numbers, and we can only call a certain number of times per week. Well, they're forgetting that we just went through a holiday season where the lines you call in, even on the days when they were supposed to be available, you wait on hold and the line would hang up telling you, sorry, please call back at another time. But these individuals didn't know that. They're not the ones sitting up there waiting on hold. They don't have to do that. That's why they're getting our services. I just want to let the rest of you know this is what we're going through. And that's the extra stuff, the stuff that they didn't even pay for, that we're getting for them. It is only now, since Monday, that we're able to start sending the other paperwork out that we've been waiting since December 3rd to send out, but we could not send it out because we received information that that office was going to be unavailable and that they were not going to be receiving any other documents until Monday. But people are coming at us and we're telling them, sending them emails saying, hey, we have to wait. This is holiday season. It's just the way it is, y'all. We're not holiday season anymore. We got a couple of more holidays coming up in February. I believe we have 2 days coming up in February. I think we have a President's Day and President's Day, okay, coming up in February. And Valentine's Day is not a holiday, so you ain't got to worry about no Valentine's Day. Then we got March, April, June, and July, okay? Then it isn't until we get through October 31st that we start with the stupid holidays again. That's what happens when you live in this so-called Western Hemisphere. Because, well, if you lived in the other hemisphere, you'd have a lot more holidays. Because I'm sorry, Puerto Rico had a lot more holidays than you guys have here. Lord have mercy, they had holiday after holiday. And I'm like, what? You got a holiday? For what? Oh, y'all, oh, you gotta be kidding me. Okay, that was that place. It's just what happens. But of course, we have to accept the blame for that because they're going to blame us. They're not going to blame the system. They're not going to blame the industry. They're going to blame us. Guys, I was watching Mom's Mobley, and then this is going to be the last thing. We were talking about her comedic skills. Well, she did this movie. It's a little bit overacting, but
What are they for? To hang up the clothes. Why don't you have a dryer? I have a dryer.
That did it. That blame it, that
that's
did it.
Mom right there.
Don't say nothing about my clothes, you hear? You don't know nothing about me. Don't you know?
Now I'm gonna stop right there. Y'all can go watch Amazing Grace because that was the name of the movie. Amazing Grace. Amazing Grace. How sweet the stupidity. Okay. Moms, Mabley. I keep saying Mobley. Look, I'm sorry, moms. I don't know why I keep calling you Mosley when I know it's Mabley. I apologize. Well, anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I like her. Okay? She was all right. And I've listened to several of her things and I ain't heard her curse one time. Like I told you, that was an error where she couldn't do it. I even listened to a couple of her albums where she's talking, and up to the point that I've listened, and I wasn't trying to cut her short, okay, up to the point where I have listened, have I not found a single, and I like this aspect of YouTube that it does that, have I found any parts of her cursing? Okay, I haven't found any. Okay, I can't find the album, so I apologize for that. I apologize. This is one of them, okay? But I hadn't found any one of them where she's cursing. But I give her credit because in that era, they didn't get paid much, y'all. They didn't get recognized enough, you all. And I'm hoping you all understand that. It is a shame the way the system did them. It is a shame the way the system did them. See, look at this. Mom's was the best, my favorite scene in the movie. Okay, you guys need to understand, I'm not the only one who feels this way about this young lady. So that's this video. I got to show you a little bit about the doctor, and look, I'm only advertising for this man. I'm directing you guys to go listen to him. Look, he can't have all of that experience and not know what he's talking about. Because when he talks about the adrenal
What would
gland,
happen to your blood pressure, your blood sugar, your muscles? Every adaptation that occurs is like the adrenal adapting your body to that stress state. Our bodies were not designed to live in a sustained stress environment for that long, especially.
that's why I'm asking you guys to go listen to him. Not that I'm going to go listen to him, okay? What I am trying to suggest is that There are a lot of people out there looking for natural remedies, and I'm not saying that all of the holistic doctors out there do a good job, because I had a holistic doctor and I had a little bit of faith in him. But sorry, some of the medication that he was giving out to some of his patients were too much. What was the name of that medication? It's it's like not adrenal, not the it's the dang it, I can't think of the name of the medication. And I wish I could, but I can't think of it right now. It deals with your adrenaline, but it's not adrenal, okay? And it's in the brain. I forgot the name of the medication. Does it deal with memory? Here's that finger. You got my attention. Why don't you sit and spin while I think about it? Okay. Either way, he was a holistic doctor, and a couple of people told me, you need to stop going to him. My friend, he gave her an overdose, gave her way too many high of a prescription, and now she's got some issues. Okay, and they were right. So haven't been to a doctor, and that's a good thing. I haven't been to a doctor in over 2 years. Ladies and gentlemen, I was going to the doctor almost every other week because the problems were that much. The pain was that much. I'm not in pain. I'm not fatigued. I have energy. I don't have the energy to run. Sorry. I ain't gonna be running for a while. Sorry. This disease has slowed me down a lot. But let me just say it this way. I'm not fatigued. I'm able to get sleep. I'm not up all night every night. Maybe 3 times a month I go through a night where I can't get sleep. I'm not having the massive headaches. Maybe 4 times a month I'm having those headaches, as opposed to 15 times a month having those headaches that are debilitating, that ruin my day. Don't have the headache is there all the time, 24 hours a day. It's just a matter of me focusing to tune it out because it's there now, but I don't have it. And here it is, 7:38. Uh-oh, 7:38. That ain't no 7:38. That's a five. How you make a five or eight? Ladies and gentlemen, that five is telling me it's time for me to go. So there you go. This is Dr. Eric. Eric! Eric! This is Eric right here. I want y'all to understand. This is Eric. So let's go to Eric's website. Because if you notice
the author of the seven
stop it.
principles.
Stop it. Don't want no advertisement. See, subscribe now and get the latest cutting edge health information on nutrition, weight loss, what to eat, recipes, and health tips that really work. I'm only pointing out his website, not so we can he's got almost 1 million subscribers. Okay? But you see, he doesn't do any advertisement except for this advertisement here. He doesn't do any advertisement. I found his site. I'd never seen him before. Never seen him before. Until I decided to look for I was doing debt collection, then I clicked on this because the lady I was talking to, she said she has a problem with an attorney. He's a debt collector. I said, well, here, type into YouTube how to get rid of a debt collector, and pulled up over 100 videos on debt collection. I told her, and the videos that don't show you the case law, you stay away from them. Okay? Apple cider vinegar for losing weight. I just saw a video with a woman who actually talked about apple cider vinegar. Oh God, and she talked about how it did not help her. Oh my stars. Okay, so again, this is Doc Berg's. Okay, and of course, he's making a living off of this. Okay, now what they say about him now, it says Dr. Berg is a chiropractic doctor in practice for 26 years. So now that I see it, I say take it with a grain of salt. The reason why you'll take it with a grain of salt, because chiropractic doctors, now he worked on health, but he is a chiropractic doctor in practice for 26 years. Okay, so what I would say is do some more research on him. All right, I don't know the man. I didn't know him before tonight. I just decided because of what he was talking about that I would mention that to you all. So I'm glad I had a chance to talk. And Introduction to Dr. Berg. Okay, that's the name of this video, Introduction to Dr. Berg. The other information you heard in this video, you just got to take that with a grain of salt because this is just introduction to Dr. Berg. I gotta go. Have a good day, have a good life, have a good night. I'm gone. Wait, I think I need to say goodbye. Didn't you just say goodbye when you told him to have a good day, have a good night, have a good life? You were gone? Yeah, but what